Today I'm doing the easiest pulled pork ever on the Ninja Woodfire. Hi, welcome along to Barbecue Life. My name's Tom, and as I said at the top of the video, today we're doing pulled pork in the Ninja Woodfire. So we're going to jump straight in. So this is a piece of pork shoulder that I bought a larger piece from the butcher's. I cut in half, and I done my tacos al pastor video with one half, so that came out a bit earlier on this year. I'll make sure I stick a link for that in the description in case you want to check it out. And then this half I wanted for nice simple pulling and to put the Ninja Woodfire through its paces a little bit more. So we've got this pork, we just need to give it a slight trim. If you've got any silver skin on the outside, then just take it off. The majority of this has been taken off by the butcher on mine anyway, but yours may well have a fair bit more. Just slide your knife underneath and just try not to take too much meat with it, but just that silver skin on the top, because that doesn't render down and it is going to become chewy in your end product. So I'm not using a binder today. This pork has been in the freezer, it's quite moist. Generally, when you take your meat out of the packaging, unless you let it sit out in the fridge to dry out a little while, then it's quite moist anyway. So I'm not using a binder today, and the reason for that is because the sugars that we generally find in binders will burn in the Ninja Woodfire, I find, over a longer cook. Even at 120 degrees C, they do caramelise up quite well, so I tend to go no binder when I'm using the Woodfire. So rub I'm using today is a concept rub from my range, so I've already got one rub out. So umami oomph powder. This is another rub that we're looking at launching maybe later on in the year. If the oomph powder carries on running the way it does, you can pick that up from my website. At the point of filming, it is out of stock, but I am currently ordering some more. And to make a cracking Father's Day present as well, with that coming up around the corner. So I've just dusted, nice light dusting all the way over this pork, making sure I cover top, bottom and the sides. We've got a nice flappy piece left on this. Instead of cutting it off and just binning it, I've decided that when I put this on the grill, I'm just going to tuck it under nicely. So we've got our rub on. We want to leave that to let that sit for at least half an hour, but anything up to a couple of hours, and that just starts to draw the moisture out, and that's going to give us our nice bark on the outside. So with our Ninja, we need to start getting things prepared on there. So we're not using the fryer basket, we're just going straight onto the grill plate in here, and we need to fill it up with our pellets. So I'm going in with the mild pellets that came with the Ninja Woodfire. So get them in, so a whole cup full of those into that little smoking chamber, and then we're going to set our Ninja to smoke. So we just turn the dial round to the smoke function. The lowest that will go is 120 degrees C. And we're going to set our time for 2.5 hours, because I'm expecting after 2.5 hours we're going to be coming up to somewhere near the stall, and this is where we're going to need to wrap our pork. But let's find out how we get on with that in a little while. So our Ninja is up to temperature. It's all started off with our smoking function, and we're just going to get our pork on there, tuck that flap underneath so that it doesn't dry right out, pop it on, shut the lid and leave it to do its thing for that 2.5 hours. So the great thing about this is it doesn't need monitoring. So if you want to pop out during them 2.5 hours, then you can do. I absolutely love it. It's great for when I get in from work, for quick cooks, and yeah, I can't sing its praises anymore. And the more and more YouTube videos I watch of people pushing the boundaries of what we can cook outside and how quickly we can cook things outside, it just completely blows my mind. So 2.5 hours in, as you can see, this has got an absolutely gorgeous colour on the outside. It's got a nice bark forming, and we need to go in and check our temperature. So I pop the probe in, and we have shot straight up to 81 degrees C. So we've pushed right through the stall, and we're nearly up to temperatures that we're going to be pulling. So we've got about 20 degrees left to go. So as I said a minute ago, I was really expecting to be wrapping this to get it through the stall like we generally do on our more standard barbecues, but I don't know whether it's because it was a slightly smaller piece. I don't know whether it's the airflow in there with the fans constantly running to keep things moving, but what it does do is it just tends to cook things so much quicker and so much more efficiently. So we're already through that stall stage, so I've decided I'm not going to bother wrapping. I'm just going to let this run through completely unwrapped. So what I did do was I've turned the Ninja off to reset everything. I've turned it around to bake and set it to 120 degrees C again. So we're still cooking at exactly the same temperature, just on a slightly different function on the wood fire. And we're going to put it up to an hour on the time, and off we go again. Again, you can be off doing whatever you want to do. Going to get more beer to stock the fridge, doing the washing, doing the ironing, anything you fancy. So after that hour, we go back in, and I'm going to want to be checking the temperature just to see where we are. And as I push the probe in, I know that this is done. I don't even need to check the temperature. It is so tender. So we take the temperature, we're into the 90s, into them magic numbers for pulling. Take the probe and we just push it in and around the rest of it. Make sure we've got no tight spots, and it is absolutely perfect. So this has taken a total of 3.5 hours. Now I'd love to be able to tell you how much it weighed, but I can't remember off the top of my head. If I can find the email telling me how much it weighed to begin with, and then I can half that from there and we get a rough ballpark of what the weight was. But even still, 3.5 hours for what isn't a really small piece of pork has completely blown my mind. So what we now need to do is we need to get that off, let it sit for about 20 minutes to half an hour, and that is going to let the temperatures finish rising, because we get something that's called carryover, where things carry on cooking after they're off of the grill, and it's just going to let things start to calm down a bit. So after that, we're now going to double wrap it in foil, wrap it in towel, get it into a cool box, and we want to let that rest for at least an hour. Now I rested mine for 2.5 hours today, and what it does do is it just lets all of the juices redistribute throughout the meat, and it makes things even more tender for when it comes to pulling. So we've now, all we're going to do is we're going to get this onto a plate, go in with a couple of forks and just start shredding away. So you can see that that bark really holds its shape on the outside, but the inside is beautifully moist and tender and absolutely perfect for what we wanted today. So we've got no taste test today, because by the time we got round to serving things, it was after school time. All the school kids in the area are out there screaming, shooting and hollering, motorbikes buzzing up and down the road. So you wouldn't be able to hear a single word, I'd say, and all the effing and blinding that we get from our wonderful neighbours around here isn't something I want to be putting out on video. So we've got no taste test, but I can assure you that it tasted absolutely fantastic. So we ate this along with some beef cheeks that we've got a video coming up in the next few weeks, and some mac and cheese and my barbecue beans recipe from right the way back at the beginning of the channel that I am going to give another outing, I think, soon. Get it cooked maybe on the Bono or maybe even on the Weber. I'm not entirely sure, but we are going to revisit that and just tweak it slightly to where we are with our recipe now. So if you've come this far, then please do make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you like the video and leave me a comment, and thank you very much for watching. Cheers.